Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Tuesday. But what do we choose to do? Shut up, playback. I thought I had you muted, but apparently not. But it is Tuesday. So, what are we going to choose to talk about? Well, we got a few topics. And as we know, obviously, the whole thing's pretty much breaking for the entirety of the day. It's HOJLAND doing his medical. The man is having his medical. There's been picture releases. I think within the last hour or so of him turning up to Carrington in the back of that people carrier, that little Mercedes people's carrier, whatever sort of vehicle that is, or whatever the actual model is. Don't know, don't really care. The fact is, the player that Ten Hag wants and the player that most of our fan base wants is now at the club. He is doing his medicals at Carrington. And once that's done, should probably be an announcement either end of day today or the following day. Obviously, it's going to make no sense in waiting until like the end of the week to do any announcements. So I'll probably just want to do it ASAP. So none of this nonsense. So let's time everything to build up the hype for it. Probably none of that. I think it's just get him in, get him training, and then we can start talking about RC Lons. And I suppose the question really begs is what's going to happen between RC Lons and what's going to happen with Athletic Bilbao, because we're playing both of those games one day after the next. You've got Lons at Old Trafford, and then you've got what's its face, Athletic Bilbao in Dublin. I think it's Dublin is where it is happening. Although I don't know, might be wrong. Who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see which way Ten Hag looks to split the teams. Whether he's going to do the whole Wrexham Real Madrid thing, where the under-21s play one game and then the first team plays the other, or he just tries to split up the teams so it's a mixture of both going to each game. I don't really know. Maybe perhaps you like to play a bit of a prediction game with that. Maybe you predict the first team will play Lons, the first team might play Athletic Bilbao. Put your thoughts on that one in the chat section, or if you're watching this on playback, then put it in the comment section down below. And whilst you're at it, make sure you're liking the stream or video, depending on which format you are watching it in, whether it be live at the moment or whether it's on playback. Make sure you are liking the content, subscribing if you haven't done so already, and do be sure to also share the content around, because the further we can get bigger outreach, the more people will see the content, the more people will come and make themselves at home in this chat. So let's get it going, people. So obviously the headline is a lot of people talking about Rasmus HOJLAND. Obviously the pictures have been released. That is supposedly at Old Trafford. Is at Carrington doing his medical. He's here and he's beautiful. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning stuck to my bed sheets. I'm gonna be that wet about this the whole night. Literally just gonna have, it's gonna be like one of those hot summer nights where I've just got to like have my window open, the fans and air conditioning on and everything. I've just got to sleep naked because it's just gonna be an absolute mess tonight with all of these Rasmus HOJLAND pictures and all of the excitement and hype building up. Who am I kidding? It's a player that I'm pretty much still jury's out on that one, but there's a I'll give it to the top Reds that there's a bit of a hype element about the signing, but that's just, it is what it is. It's just a signing, and at the end of the day, as long as we've got our striker, and the sooner we can get him into the picture of training with the first team and getting linked into things, then the better. So I'm happy on Ten Hag's behalf for that. And fingers crossed, everything and transition into the team goes nice and smoothly. So plenty of things for this fan base to look forward to. People already starting to do the points predictors from the first 3 games. I see that Wolves at home on Monday, the 8 p.m. kickoff there. Got the Saturday Spurs away, and then Nottingham Forest heads up, a long-haired Yeti. It's Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford on Saturday, the 26th of August. So I'll probably be doing a link up there just to basically do a bit of a background check on how each other's seasons are starting off, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. I'll probably look to get in touch with him over that, and let's see how things go. I have high hopes for him. At least 20 Premier League goals. Oof, oof. 20 Premier League goals. Is that the response to Haaland by any chance, Sam? Big ups to you, man. Good to see you. I hope you are doing well. But the media have started, by the way. They have started on the Haaland comparisons. And it's like I would have said, perhaps to some, I might have sounded a bit delusional when I said, oh, people are going to start comparing him to Haaland. Well, there you go. The British media have already started. There's a graphic out there trending of people comparing HOJLAND to Haaland. And it's just like, why? Who's expecting this? No one. Absolutely nobody is expecting this comparison to have any legs or legitimacy to it. So it's a bit of a baffler, a bit of a brain freeze, if you will. Makes no sense, but it's 20 Premier League goals. It's possible. It is definitely possible. Recent history would say that's not the most likely outcome, but then again, who are we to say to predicting accurately or saying what's accurate and what's not as far as predictions go? It's quite possible that Rasmus Højlund comes in with a background of not scoring many goals to coming in and turning into an absolute goal machine. I mean, that's the thing. Perhaps it takes for Ten Hag's system to unlock or untap the potential on a player, and just to see them, go off on a tangent and just start, bagging goals for fun. And I mean, that's just on the Premier League standpoint. What about all competitions? Because we've got the Carabao Cup, we've got the FA Cup, we've got the Champions League. It's going to be interesting just to see how many goals he's going to get. And I think there's a lot of people that will be feasting their very, I'd say, judgmental eyes on this player's performance, and very eagerly anticipating where he perhaps might come up short, or where for our sakes he comes good. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be plenty of speculation about how things go for the man. But I'm sure we can have well wishings for him, especially coming into the Premier League. It's no easy feat for any player unless you are literally a human cyborg in the case of Erling Haaland. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. It's happened before where players have bad goal scoring records. They come into another league and they start bagging for fun. It's happened before, but history would say not the most likely. But let's be a little bit of a half glass full type of people here and say, look, he's going to do well, and let's back him to do well. We'll have to see. And judging by the hopes for him to score 20 goals in the league at least would probably be to insinuate that our attacking woes will be solved by the time we kickstart the season, and that everyone starts to be a bit more goal scoring, a bit more free scoring, and everything starts to click into gear. So that's hoping. That's hoping that we solve our goal scoring woes, and then we'll be home free, pretty much. So fingers crossed that things go well in that front, or everything goes horribly wrong, like so terribly wrong that Rasmus Højlund fails his medical and he can't train and play until the start of the season. Has to go away, get himself fit to be able to actually do his medical again and everything. And then it all starts raining and pouring and all the old men are snoring. Yeah, one thing leads to another, and it all goes tits up. But let's not go. Let's not dwell on those negatives, because those negatives don't really matter. I mean, 99.999% of players pass their medicals unless your name is what's his face? Was it Kai? No, it wasn't. It was Hakim Ziyech. Unless your name is Hakim Ziyech, then you are probably more likely to fail your medicals. But aside from that, you know, it's looking positive at the moment. It is looking positive. We are going on to the next point. I might as well just quickly rifle through the points I've got here. So the HOJLAND medical is pretty much the headline of the show. The thing we address at the start, at the very start. We address it first because that's probably what most people want to, well, most people are interested in. We have other points here for PELLISTRI. PELLISTRI's being offered loan deal options. I think the two names mentioned, one of the clubs was Boca Juniors and the other one was FC Twente, I think it is the other name that was mentioned. Not great. Let's put it simply, not great. But we'll delve into that in a bit. We've got Brandon Williams has got a potential deal link coming in from Leeds United. They are interested in signing the young English fullback. Or I think it's going to be a permanent transfer. I don't think they're going to be interested in any other United fullbacks for purchase because they ain't getting them cheap like we'll probably do with Brandon Williams. And Brandon Williams, a player that I'm pretty sure doesn't have much, if not any, future at Manchester United whatsoever. And I think it makes a lot of sense that Brandon Williams is one of these players that we do sell for a transfer fee. But the question really comes down to Manchester United Football Club's POV. You know, what price are they expecting? What price do they think is real? Or do they feel a bit cheeky about it and are looking forward to, fleecing another club? I mean, we've technically fleeced Leeds United once already because, I mean, Dan James for 30 million. Who remembers that? That literally just came out absolutely nowhere. Crazy stuff. How do you think Williams is worth? I say 8 million. Probably thereabouts, yeah. About 7 to 8 million pounds. I mean, he's never really played first team Premier League football. I think maybe he did that at Norwich. I'm pretty sure he went to Norwich on loan. Either that or I'm just completely uneducated on his previous loan deals. I'm pretty sure he did go to Norwich on loan while still in the Prem. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Speculative, and I'll say Brandon Williams for someone who I think is not someone we've purchased. I think the club, would be very happy to sell someone like Brandon Williams where they've not spent any transfer fee on the player. It's just whatever they make from the transfer is going to be, it's set to be a profit. It's going to be in profit margin. So they will be happy, I think, regardless, as long as it's not a very stupidly dirt cheap fee, then I could say you could probably push. You could very much push and say, okay, what about a cheeky 10 million? Maybe you could push, try and be a bit cheeky. And because, I mean, Leeds have got a new ownership. They're looking to make a new, a strong mark. New manager as well. I think it's Daniel Farke. Is now the new Leeds manager. And I think pre-season for them has actually gone pretty well. It's actually gone fairly well for Leeds United in pre-season. So all things considered, I mean, it's the Championship, but they probably have quite a fairly strong chance of bouncing straight back up. I think there's quite a possibility there. I think as long as their summer transfer window is strong, they probably will come straight back up. And I think Williams might be a fairly good option because he's quite a physical left back. So I think he fit quite well into the profile of the league, being gruff and tough. Just grinding into players and just making a meal, not making a meal out of everything. That's basically to say that you're making things tough for yourself, but rather you're making things tough for your opposition, right? there's a lot of wingers that are going to be playing up against Brandon Williams that will probably be quite light on their feet. And he's going to be perfect opportunity to assert himself physically into the championship, and I think he would do quite well there. So I'm actually okay with this transfer. I know it's to Leeds United, but still, I mean, they're not a Premier League side, so I probably couldn't really care less. And to be honest with you, they're not a threat to us. Leeds are not a threat to us whatsoever. So I'm absolutely fine with that. Go right ahead. You try and get as much money for the on the deal as possible, and happy days. Happy days with that. But we pretty much addressed the whole Williams to Leeds thing before actually addressing the Pellistri loan deal. Leeds have loaned out almost all of their best players. I suppose that's going to be a likely occurrence. I'll tell you one thing. That's probably a bit of a smartish thing to do, because if you've got a lot of players that want to play in the Premier League and you get relegated and saying, well, look, I want to leave. What that club's got to do is sell the players that want to leave and not play in the Championship. They go off and play for other clubs, but then the Leeds United have to go through the Championship, do all the hard fighting and grafting just to get back up into the Premier League, and then go out in the market again to buy Premier League quality or Premier League level type players. And it's like you're doing all the hard work yet again. If you're loaning some of your better players or the players that want to be in the Prem, basically you got a guarantee that once you get back to the Prem, if you get back to the Prem, of course it's you're betting on your own success. But if it comes off, your better players come back to you, and you start a Premier League season with half of your work being done for you in the transfer market. So there's an element to it where it's just like, this is fair. This is pretty good planning on Leeds' behalf. It really does depend on how well they recruit for the Championship this summer, though. Like, as long as they recruit well for this summer to be well equipped for the Championship, if they do well, get back up into the Prem, they're sorted. They're absolutely sorted. Minimal work. I say minimal work. I mean, if you're a newly promoted team, in any case and scenario, you've got to bust your balls just to actually stay in the Prem in the first season up. But I think Leeds will probably be much better equipped coming back into the Prem than your average Championship promoted club going into the Premier League would be, just on basic scenarios. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, as a United supporter, all things considered, I'm more than happy to see Leeds just fall flat on their face and end up going so down bad that they get relegated to League One. I'm all down for it. Like, that's just me. I'm happy to see that happen, but who knows? I think the way that they're going about stuff, I think it's going to be more favourable, that they are going to see more positives than negatives. So it is what it is. Upon the other 2 points that we'll kind of discuss today as well, we've got Martinez mentality. There's been a few comments where Martinez has been asked about his ambitions with the club, and how all of us should be thinking and feeling the same way about our clubs. And also, there's been a news story linking us to Romeo Lavia. And we'll be exploring whether there's any legs to that story whatsoever. So let's jump back a couple squares here to Pellistri. What are we going to do with Pellistri? Well, he's been linked with 2 loan deals. Now, a lot of people, there's question marks about who they want the backups to be in the squad on the right-hand side. Who's going to be coming on when Anthony needs to come off? Is it going to be Amad Diallo? Is it going to be Facundo Pellistri? And if that one comes on if that one becomes the bench option instead of Anthony, or second to Anthony, what happens to the other? Do they go out on loan, or do they get sold? Like, what happens here? So Pellistri is pushing for a new contract. As it stands, he's pushing for a new contract. Um, an interesting situation because there's a lot of people that want to go the route of Pellistri. There's a lot of people want to go the route of Diallo. Some people might just say, well, why not have both? And I would say that's absolutely fine. We can roll with having both. The problem is that Anthony's here. Anthony's at the club. He's taking up a first team spot. There's two players at the same stages of their careers in the same positions. Technically, two different play styles, but they're at the same stage of their career. But both of them are fighting for second choice. And if you're third choice, hmm, I don't think that would sit very comfortably or bode very well for said individual, whoever it may be, if that be the case of Amad Diallo or that be the case of Ricardo Pellistri, because Pellistri's been frustrated with the lack of game time. Absolutely, of course. You know, he does well for his national team, but comes back to club football and just can't hack it. Can't find the minutes. Amad Diallo's just had a successful loan spell. Well, I say successful. A good loan spell at Sunderland. And he's come back into the United picture, into the frame of Manchester United, and is looking to do well to make an impact. But if he gets relegated to third choice for the right hand side, what's that going to do for his mindset? Is he going to say, okay, no, that's fine, that's cool, I'll just sit and be third choice? Or is he going to turn around to the United Chiefs and go, yeah, that's not going to sit well for me. I need to be playing football. Like, I'm all for being the second choice and being the bench option and just sort of, pushing whoever it is that's sitting in, as first choice. I'm all well and good for that. But if I get relegated to third choice, like, that tells me that the faith in me is not that strong. So now, whether that becomes a case that the other gets sold, by the looks of it, what's happening is that United are open to loan deals, and I think both Amad Diallo and Pellistri have been linked with loan options or loan deals this summer. It's interesting just to question basically what is it that Manchester United want to do? What is it? Who is it they want to keep? Who is it they want to let go? Who is it that they want to let them go out on loan for another season? Like, who is it? What's the plan? What's the picture looking like? Because at the moment, the fans can speculate as much as they want. They can say, oh, well, I prefer this player being here. I prefer that player being here. It's all well and good doing that. But at the end of the day, we're sort of chasing our tails a little bit here, just going around in circles, trying to figure out what's more beneficial, who's more beneficial to the club or to the team. Is Pellistri going to offer more to Ten Hag, or is Amad Diallo going to offer more to Ten Hag? Now, I'd be absolutely fine for Pellistri going out on loan. Personally, I believe that it should be that way round, because even when Pellistri was completely available as a second choice right winger, he still wasn't being used. Whereas Amad Diallo has seen a lot more minutes in pre-season than Ricardo Pellistri has. So I am steering much more towards a Pellistri loan than an Amad loan. The problem is that if we want Pellistri to go out on loan to give him the minutes, we want those minutes to be very highly competitive and the environment to be highly competitive. No offense to I'm pretty sure it's the Argentinian league and the Eredivisie. Pellistri going out on loan to those two leagues is not it's not going to do him many wonders to his experience, especially if he's played international national team football against some tougher oppositions. But more importantly, where he's at in his career, he needs to start seeing bigger scale games, like higher intensity, higher pressure. We need to see if he is definitely worth a long-term bet of investment on him by giving him the opportunity to go to a bigger league to find a first team football there. We did that something a little bit similar to Amad Diallo, where we were sending him out on loan to other clubs, dotted around Europe, playing in European competitions. That didn't go so well. We sent him on loan to Sunderland. He got minutes, which was good. It was good. He got minutes at Sunderland, and he got an opportunity to showcase his abilities and his talents. We need to do the same for Pellistri. We need to give him the right loan move, and that's the thing with a lot of loan deals, is that you can. I think the problem for United is when we've loaned players as of the recent years, we've not really cared too much about where it is that they're going on loan. It's more, well, it's just as long as they go to whatever league it is, whatever team it is. It's like Matej Kovar going on loan to the Czech league, and he's won the title there, and it's pretty much a case that he's going to want to do another loan deal. That's what he's angling towards. But let's try and invite the interest to actually encouraging him to take a bigger scale loan deal, like go to a more prestigious league and compete for some of your bigger honors there, or showcase yourself against some of the world's best. And that would be a perfect opportunity for Matej Kovar. The same way, it should be a big opportunity for Facundo Pellistri. But I just feel like if you're loaning him to Boca Juniors or FC20, like, seriously, no offense to either of those two clubs, but that's not big enough for Facundo Pellistri. He needs bigger. He definitely needs bigger. Loaning him to French league isn't a bad option. It worked well for Balogun at Arsenal. Absolutely, I think that is a very fair assessment to make. I think you could, French league, definitely. I think he has had a loan deal. I think it was Granada that he had a loan deal for Facundo Pellistri, which that didn't go too well. But I think it's just, Facundo Pellistri is a little bit more known or well known now. So I have much more beliefs that if he goes to a French league club or, say, a Serie A club, I think Bundesliga might be a bit of a harder ask for him to do well there, because for some reason, I just get the feeling that he's not going to see as many minutes if he goes on loan to the Bundesliga. But I think the French league is a fair shout, but also the Serie A, I think that's a fair option. Because I think just based off of some of the formations you get out there is quite important with wing backs, but also the wingers there, because usually we associate a lot of Italian footballs with back three systems / back fives. So I think Pellistri could find himself in quite a few potential different positions or roles, and probably understand or learn more about his style of game in his development in a team that has a setup somewhat like that than he would if he was just being a bench option on loan at a team where it's all just simple football. Because as we know, Ten Hag's football, what he wants to do isn't simple. It isn't a simple system. It isn't a simple setup. So everyone's got very specific roles to play. And I think if Pellistri is able to go to a club with a bit more of a more complex setup, that he'll learn more about himself as a player than he would do if he was just at any other old club. So I'm all for either or. The French league, interesting league, it might suit him well level wise, and in terms of the opposition he'd face, he might find a lot of joy out there and find his rhythm. Whereas if you go to the Serie A with how systems are set up in that league, he'll probably find a lot more about himself. Like it's like a more of a self-reflective loan type of deal, just simply based off of the approach that a lot of Italian teams have to football. But it's a good shout that loaning him to the French league. But at the end of the day, bottom line is we want him to go to a competitive league, a competitive environment, everything just anything to bed him in well, to get him basically just ready for more first team football, because I know the Premier League is a hard league to go on a loan deal to, and it's sort of like that. I suppose we should ask a question: is Pellistri good enough to take a loan deal in the Premier League? I think it's not that I don't back Pellistri's ability to get a loan deal in the Premier League. I just don't trust the Premier League clubs to actually play him. I don't trust Premier League clubs to actually play him. I think that they will probably not. They probably won't see uh, the same light that perhaps us as fans of Manchester United do regarding Pellistri as the potential that he has, the ability, the style of play that he plays with. Because that's the thing with Pellistri, is that he's much more sort of a balanced approach, where sometimes he can cut inside. He'll take the ball, he'll try and beat the player off the dribble, he'll go on the outside, he'll cut to the inside. He does a lot of things to his game. Amad Diallo looks more like a keep ball player that likes to cut in on the inside to use his left foot to bend it far post, much closer to the style of Anthony. We saw some of that at Sunderland, and I think Pellistri is a little bit of a different style of player. So it's interesting. It is interesting, but I think whether Pellistri is good enough for a Premier League loan deal, I wish that to be the case, and I don't question the quality or the ability of Pellistri to actually make a loan deal in the Premier League work, but I don't trust the Premier League clubs to actually see things the same way. So unfortunately, it will have to be potentially abroad if you are talking of a loan deal. Just please do not waste it. Please do not waste the loan deals, because otherwise we'll have to end up selling him, because he'll be past his optimal best, or the optimal development phase. He'll end up becoming just another player that sort of has reached a peak, but he can't really go any better than that. So unfortunately, that's it could be the case, but we hope that is a different story. So let me know with your thoughts and feelings on Pellistri, whether you think, let's say, is a loan deal to Boca Juniors or FC20 a good loan deal, or do you believe that Pellistri can do better? Do you believe that we can loan him to a better club? And if so, give me a couple of names. That'll be interesting. Give me a couple of names of clubs that you think Pellistri could actually make things work at. In ability, where perhaps his style might complement the system, or whether you think that's somewhere of his level that he might fit in like a glove. It's an interesting thing. It's worth speculating about. So something to pick your brains with. We're going to move on to Martinez mentality. There has been a few quotes, some quotes from Martinez regarding the side of mindsets, mentalities, what he's basically made of things so far. I think Dalot's also been speaking, but this one's probably much more notable, and we're going to read through some of those quotes right now. I think it was the news about I think it was Dalot's quotes came first, and then the Martinez quotes came soon after. So these are quite new, these ones. So Martinez, a few quotes. These are different quotes. I might as well read them out anyway. So from Manchester Evening News, he's spoken to men, and he has said as follows: "When I play football, I give everything with passion, because when I look at the badge, I represent this club. It's amazing. I give my body and my heart and everything. I represent this club with my all, and I hope all the players do as well." So, he's talking big. He is talking big. That's what we like to hear. Continuing the quotes here: "I feel fully fit now. I feel happy because I love football. It was really tough when you are out and you can't do anything, but now I'm ready and looking forward." And to close these, never mind. He's actually he's continued with things here. I feel stronger than last season. I think also the team wants to show something different when the league starts. So we are fully positive and we feel really strong. Wow. I know some people would want to show something different, but some others, and I think you might know exactly who I'm talking about, want to do same old, and look like an absolute clown whilst doing it. So not great, not great. But Martinez on Onana's reaction to Harry Maguire. It's better for it. It's better for. It's better for it. It's better for it. I don't know why I said that twice. If you are focused, you can fight with your teammates as well. You need to make sure everyone is really sharp, but nothing happened. It's part of football. But that's the thing. You want to see that. You want to see people, being a bit more brutal with their teammates and saying, "Look, if you mess up, yeah, I'm coming for you." Like, this is the thing, Manchester United, and this ties in exactly to the club mentality. Mentality side of things. I'll just finish off these quotes here. I mean, there's probably going to be some more updates, quite possible. He has a big personality. So this is continuing on Onana. So he has a big personality. He can play football. He can deal with the pressure. He's really positive. He's a leader. That's the style of MUFC, and that's the thing. You can be positive, can have leadership traits and qualities, but you want to be able to deal with the pressure, but also have the talent to do it. But most importantly, complement the mentality of Manchester United by actually, having the winning mindset. And got here, Shazam says, Martinez is the type of guy you want on your team. He's got the talent and the passion. Absolutely. He's got the fight. He's got the fight. And I think that's important, is having the fight, because you don't see, I suppose, these sort of banana skin games that you get dotted throughout the league season, throughout the league campaign, where you go away to a smaller away team, but they just pounce on you. And so it's like you'll drop some unnecessary points. If you've got people who love to fight in your team, no game is easy for anybody in any case scenario, even if you are slightly out of form. And you're going into a game and your team are absolutely going to give everything they've got to win. That's the barest minimum that I found that supports a team at this level can ask for, right? That's all we can ask for. And I mean, Martinez's mentality is absolutely spot on. The way that he believes in this team, in the way in which he says it should be winning, absolutely agree, 100%. Just having to scroll down a little bit, see if I can find the other quotes here. So I found them. So he also had a bit of reflection. This was from the ESPN. All of these quote tweets, by the way, are sourced from the United Stand Twitter feed, because obviously, big United account, they basically tweet everything that happens to do with the club, which is easier for me to find things. It's easier for me to find information rather than having to follow a million different accounts. Plus the amount of absolute AIDS that gets infiltrated on my timelines. And I keep calling it Twitter. I mean, it's quite funny because, I mean, it's technically called X, but at the same time, it is Twitter. So Lissandro Martinez here, as regarding success, it has been a very successful year. I'd say very successful, but now it's part of the past. Obviously, I feel very proud, and now this season, I hope to win many trophies with MUFC. So he wants to win more trophies this season. So Martinez on his goals this season, winning. To put it simply, winning the Champions League, thinking big. This club is very big. The minimum is to think about these titles and personally winning everything too, right? There it is, right? The minimum is to think, to want, to demand that we go and win all that there is to win. You can talk about realisms or real, what's fantasy, what's fact, what's fiction. You can talk about all of these things, all the dilemmas. Which competition do we prioritize, or which competitions do we bin off? I mean, the seconds, it's like, it almost feels like when we address the way we think about competitions and we use, say, Arsenal as an example, where you see the fans talking about the Carabao Cup and they say, well, the Carabao Cup's beneath us. I mean, for one, they only say that because they didn't win it and because they'll be, they're bitter about having to accept that United had a better season than Arsenal last season. It's like, a part of me is just thinking, well, the second that I start thinking that any competition that we can win is below us, it's like, what, I'm now making an excuse for us not winning things. But there isn't an excuse. There isn't any excuses for not winning things. The only time where really you can say that, or that there's any excuse to it, is if half of your squad ends up getting injured in one game and you go up against like Real Madrid in Champions League in like the semi-finals and you're having to play half of your under 21s because everyone else is injured. Then you can start talking about excuses. But aside from that, when the aim is to win everything in football at the highest level, because this is the thing, we are at the highest level. There isn't there isn't a level above us. We are there. We are there. So let's talk about being there. And that's it. That's literally the thing. And the players are talking like that. They are talking the talk. The most important thing is that they start to walk the walk. And I believe if Martinez, for the way that he plays on the pitch or the way that he asserts himself on a football pitch, I don't doubt Martinez wants to give everything to win. And when he says that, thinking about winning everything, that's a minimum, that to have that within your targets, within your aims, right? That there you go. That so you're talking the talk, but if you're a player like Martinez, I can believe that you will be much more susceptible to walking the walk. So Sam says, now that's a type of attitude and mentality I want to hear from our players, 100%. And that's got to be reciprocated through every player in the squad. We've seen a little taster of that from Andre Onana. We want to see this being reciprocated through other players. We want to see that from Rashford, because I know that guy's got a PR team that likes to use AI-generated captions to find reasons to explaining his shortcomings or the team's shortcomings. Marcus, get yourself a new bloody media team, because otherwise if I see another goddamn caption, an AI generated caption from Rashford's PR team, I'm gonna go and lose my shit. So Marcus Rashford's a good example. Obviously Maguire, Scott McTominay shouldn't even be here, so I'm not even gonna include them on the subject. But I want to see, Varane, I want to see the winning mindset from him. Diogo Dalot, I know he's quite boisterous. He likes to be quite vocal. He's a bit like a hype man, if you know what I mean. I think Wan-Bissaka obviously doesn't show much emotions, but basically you get what I mean. Just each and every player, you can go through the whole squad. You want to see them, talk big. Like, we want to see them talk very big. What you don't want to see is, and it might seem like I pick on Arsenal a lot, but yeah, it's justified that I pick on Arsenal a lot, because they are essentially everything that you would basically, if you think about a club that you should say, well, they should be successful, but they're not, but they are to blame for their own faults and failures in being successful. Arsenal would be one of the picture perfect clubs to using, or to basically explaining that sort of a situation. It's like, or talk about strong mentalities. Gabriel Jesus walked into Arsenal, Zinchenko walked into Arsenal and said, let's go win the title, guys. We can win the title. We can win the league. And the Arsenal players laughed. So it was taken as a joke first. But then you start winning some games and you're thinking, oh, actually, no, we're on a bit of a roll. Let's see how far we can go with this. No talk about the title. And that's the thing. Some people might say, look, if you are 8 points clear at like halfway through the season, you should start to think about winning the title and everything. And I think it's actually in Arsenal's case the opposite. The second they started to, and you could see it, the second they started talking about league titles, you could see them starting to slip up. You can see them starting to make mistakes. Oh, they didn't win here. They should have won there. They drew at that game. They drew at Anfield. They drew at against West Ham. They drew against Southampton. What's happened? there was like when they were winning games, they were focused on their football, just take it game by game by game, just thinking, right, focus on what's here and now. Let's win this. We're going to the next one, and let's go win that. People started thinking about winning before they'd actually won anything. So then when it starts to go tits up and the pressure comes, then it becomes everything like nothing's our fault anymore. Oh, we wanted to be in that competition. We wanted to be in that competition. Bigger fish to fry. It's all in our hands. It's all in our hands. Is it though? Is it really? Is it really all in your hands when you start to think about winning other competitions to focus on one which you haven't won for a long time? I mean, United, we're in the same boat. We've not won the Premier League for a long time. If we get to halfway through the season and with a bit of points gap, do we sit there and say, "Oh well, we could win the Premier League, guys. We're going to win the Premier League. Yeah, let's do it." That's all well and good. I mean, we're not Manchester City. Those guys win the Premier League title as though it's just another occupation. Like, oh yeah, this it's a bit of a side quest. This Premier League malarkey. So they can talk about winning the league title from day one, and they'll just walk it. But if you're a club that doesn't win Premier League titles and everything, obviously pressure's going to hit different, isn't it? Pressure's going to hit different. So obviously you want big players. So if the pressure does come, they stand up to the task. But if you know how to expertly handle pressure, because some players, regardless, will feel it. If you can handle the pressure and handle that expectation where each player plays every game as though it's just a unique game, but that every game is not. I'd say for people who say, "Oh, well, that's our cup final," I think, but why? To say it's a cup final is to say, well, there's a massive reward at the end of it. No, don't think of it as a cup final, because then that means that there's more expectation to win the game. So then you end up doing stuff to avoid losing the game that end up losing the game. And it feels like you can't talk so comfortably about winning league titles like we can say we want to win league titles as fans, because it's the fan demand that pushes the team to go be successful, but pushes our board to incentivize building a team to be successful, right? It's the board that should react to the fans' expectations. That's why our demands are so critical. They're so influential. That's where our power as fans lies. But as far as the team is concerned, you could see last season was a perfect case study of where you're trying to run before you can walk, and you fell flat on your face, and then the big blue shark came and ate you in one fatal swoop. A 15-point swing happened, to say the least. A 15-point swing. I mean, that's ridiculous. It actually ended the season on a 13-point swing because there was only a 5 points difference, but still, there happened to be a 15-point swing in the process. And it's just like, well, talking about the title sunk the team. If you want to talk about being winning mentalities, when you get faced with adversity, you deal with every situation with a pinch. Like, you take everything with a pinch of salt. You deal with every situation in the most expert manner possible, and you say, well, if pressure is what's costing us, let's get rid of the pressure. Let's play without pressure. See, a lot of people got a lot of things to say. They've got a lot of things to say, but at the end of the day, we are pushing. The facts are facts. We are close to a title. We want to push to win the title. One thing that one thing that we know for certain is that talking all about the title is put fear into us. It's put fear into us. It should be other teams fearing us, but everybody else can smell blood, and that's the thing that if we get into a position like that, I want to see our big time players say, well, this is completely natural for us, but we're just taking everything game by game, and we're focusing that every game we play, we win. Because every team that does that and treats every game like that tends to find themselves in finals FA Cup finals, Carabao Cup finals, Champions League finals, right? And saying, well, winning the league title is a necessity for this club, but we're not thinking about us winning the league title right now. We know that that's the target, but we're not going to think about it, because thinking about something before it happens is going to play on your mind and is going to defeat you before you've actually played anything. Before you kicked a ball, you're defeated. And that's what happened with Arsenal. United need to avoid doing that. So can we do that? Very much possible. I mean, we've got some big players, or big mindset players in the squad. So I think it'll be interesting if we actually ever get into that sort of scenario, how we actually opt to deal with that sort of pressure. It's going to be really interesting. But Martinez, as far as your mentality is concerned, I've got full faith and belief in you, 100%. So big ups to Lisandro Martinez. Henceforth, it seconds my point about when I say I'd love to have 11 Martinezes on the pitch at a time. That's where my comment for that comes from. I'd love to see that. So yeah, big ups to Lisandro Martinez. Anyways, we're going to go to the final point of this show. Romeo Lavia. Now, a story has hit the rounds that Romeo Lavia has been apparently linked to Manchester United. Obviously, it's quite, I suppose the situation is quite self-explanatory when you look at it in full detail. I think most people, unless you are really gullible, can read straight between the lines and see the story exactly for what it is. And that is that. I think this is just to invoke reaction from another club, and what club that is Liverpool. Liverpool, obviously, probably the favourites to signing Lavia, among other players as well. By the way, the whole Vardiol situation, is absolutely ridiculous. Like how Manchester City have cocked the whole thing up is honestly beyond me. And the fact that if Liverpool could steal Vardiol from right underneath Manchester City's noses, there's going to be a bit of fireworks with that one. But even so, the Romeo Lavia story, I think that this is just another one of the bait tactics to baiting Liverpool into being more decisive with their transfer business. And what better way to invoke reaction, to invoke interaction, and to invoke action is to link a strong target for your football club with a direct rival. So who better to link? It's like if say, for example, Everton got linked with Romeo Lavia, I think Liverpool would just be like, what are you talking about? Everton going for Lavia? Nah, we're favourites for him. We can take our time. Manchester United come calling. Well, that's a bigger fish, isn't it? So straight away, Liverpool go, well, this probably is just a tactic. It's probably just like market tactics from Southampton. But what if it actually becomes real? What if it starts to materialise? You see, because if Lavia gets convinced by a Manchester United project more so than a Liverpool project, by the time Liverpool start getting their act together to actually put the bids in, Lavia might be saying, well, I appreciate the links to Liverpool and whatnot, but I'm actually going to go to United because I like what they're offering me for a project compared to Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool, I think, is outright favourites to signing the player. I don't think that's really up for any debates whatsoever. It's interesting. It is very, very interesting to see. Shazam says, agree they are trying to increase his value. I'd say it's just more to actually solidify the interest, I'd probably say, because I don't think that Liverpool have actually done any bid submissions, because by the looks of it, if they were being proactive in the deal for Lavia, then FSG out wouldn't be trending every other day. So it's interesting to see. Although I won't mind if we do get him. I wouldn't mind it either because I mean it's yet again it's a player that the team needs for that style of player. It's just Amrabat, you get the same type of player. Of course, the age profile is massively in Lavia's favour, and Premier League experience is quite priceless for a Prem team. But looking at it from all things considered, Manchester United, we want to if there is a cheaper option available, they're going to steer towards that option rather than going, all guns blazing on big transfers. If it was Qatar, then we might have had all areas addressed. I mean, Caicedo would probably be a Man United player right now. Harry Kane probably could have been a Manchester United player by now. There's a lot of players that could be United players right now for a different ownership rather than the ownership we currently have. But you make the best of a bad situation, and if money's limited, make the best of it. So if you've got like 150 million pounds, you're going to spend 100. You're going to max out 150 million, and you're going to sell to buy by getting rid of players the manager doesn't want and the squad doesn't need. So Lavia is a plausible option. Again, I suppose it really depends on if we can generate more sales, but I think with the money we have available, if you're selling someone like Brandon Williams among a couple of other players, hopefully Dean Henderson is one of those that leaves, you can say, well, there's enough money to go do the Amrabat deal. But if, it depends on how many players we'd need to sell in order to really afford I think the reported £50 million asking price for Lavia, whereas Amrabat's cheaper. So less of a demand for money in the context of having to go for Amrabat than there is having to go for Lavia. So for me, as far as the club's perspective is concerned, it makes more sense going after Amrabat. But Lavia, if they feel confident about it and feel like doing a bit of a tango there, then again, Liverpool, if they were to end up going to get Amrabat instead of Lavia, and we got Lavia, sure, we've got the experience of Casemiro and a younger player for quite a long period of time. You could probably say, as far as player profiles are concerned, Manchester United midfield will be set for longer if you had Lavia as compared to Amrabat, because obviously Amrabat's considerably older than Lavia, but both the same type of players. So at the end of the day, I think you get experience from Amrabat. I think that's probably building to be more successful sooner rather than later, whereas Lavia, you're probably more setting up for a longer term vision. But it's sort of either or for me. It just depends that if we can get a player in that fits that bill, and for what we need. If Lavia comes in tomorrow, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all. It's like if Amrabat doesn't come, I'm going to sit here and say, well, okay, so who is coming then? As long as it's somebody comes in, I don't really care who it is. Some people might say, well, we want Amrabat, we need Amrabat. I prefer Amrabat over Lavia. Some others will say completely opposite. They'll say, well, I prefer Lavia. And then you get some absolute nutcases who will say, we should go get Caicedo. Well, we don't have the money for asking prices from Brighton. Plus Caicedo's back in training again. So by the looks of it, unless Chelsea are going to pull the finger out, it doesn't look like Caicedo's actually going to go anywhere. So it's an interesting situation. But for me, I think when we look at this Lavia story, it's an interesting thing to speculate. But I think if you want to talk about what's realistic here, I'm going to say, well, look, I'd probably bet on it being Lavia story is literally just to force Liverpool's hand much quicker, because Southampton, you've got an important season in the Championship ahead of you. You want to bounce back to the Premier League. And if you're sitting there waiting, if you're sort of pivoting on selling a player, you sort of want to say, well, if we sell him now, we get the money now, and we can, have more time to equip ourselves better for the Championship to prepare for a Premier League promotion, rather than sitting around, bargaining or haggling well, I say haggling, I say bargaining with other clubs for your players, for your better players. You want to sell those players off sooner rather than later because you've got your own planning to do. So this probably to increase the speed in which Liverpool are doing this deal. So I'm probably saying, look, it probably steers more towards that rather than trying to increase the value because Liverpool haven't really submitted any bids yet. I think it's all just plans on how to do the proposals or how they want to structure everything because FSG, they're tight. They don't really want to spend money unless it's a um, really educated decision. So it's interesting. Um, it's interesting. So we'll have to see how things go on that side of things. Um, but that essentially draws a conclusion to the show. Just seeing my live subscriber count, we are up to 55 subscribers. So big ups to people. Thank you to whoever that was who subscribed. We are halfway there to 60 subs. Make sure you are subbing to the channel. If you are new, make sure you are liking the content. I'm going to wrap things up here, I believe. Big ups to everybody that has tuned in. Appreciate all the support and the love that you show me. And big up to Shazam for the comments and chat as well. Has made things quite enjoyable and interesting, and a few points to think about, a few points to speculate upon. But yeah, that's it from me for now. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be seeing you again real soon. Ciao for now. Goodbye.